Hello everybody and welcome to the United Stand. I hope you're all doing very well. We'll be talking about Liverpool's interest in Jadon Sancho, Chelsea on a mad one. They're now in for Havertz apparently, as well as Ben Chilwell. Where does that leave United? We've also got a bit about Sanchez and Ollie's success rate, and also I think calm down is required. But first of all, I'm wearing a suit. I'm not wearing a suit. I've took the suit jacket off. I'm wearing a black shirt because I actually did win a Champions League final tonight on my FIFA career mode. So I'm feeling good. I hope you're all feeling good. It's a Friday night, and as well, if you want something a little bit more positive about that, 2 weeks tonight at this time, well, it's actually 8:15, so 10 minutes on from now, we'll be watching Manchester United beat Spurs. That's something to be excited about, isn't it? So football's coming back. But look, let's get into this. So this is coming out of The Independent, I believe, from Miguel Delaney. Now, we were talking about him at the start of the week, and he was talking about priorities for United being, they may go for Rodon from Swansea, but they'd like Upamecano, Koulibaly. He also spoke about United and wanting Sancho, which is what everybody else wants. But today this has come out that Liverpool have let Sancho know that they would like to bring him to Anfield. And obviously we know that Liverpool had wanted Werner, and that's now disappeared. And that they may well enter the Sancho race. And obviously Champions League football for Sancho could be quite interesting. But look, I think that what I would say about this is, Morgan says straight away it's not going to happen. Liverpool's problem with getting Timo Werner was finances. They didn't go for him because they didn't feel he was worth £49 million. Now, I don't know whether that's true. I don't know whether they didn't have the money. But if Liverpool didn't go for Timo Werner for £49 million, why the hell are they going to go for Jadon Sancho for £90 million? Because there's probably more of a problem. And this is what I mean. The first thing I want to say is this. I think there's reason to look at United and their transfer policy again and be a little concerned compared to Chelsea. But we won't talk about Chelsea at the moment. We'll talk about this interest from Liverpool for Sancho and whether it should concern us. Because the transfer window for Sancho is not open and we can't sign him yet. So that sort of negates us being able to sign him or get the deal done or anything like that. But what doesn't change is the fact that everybody with any credibility and without credibility and anybody in between, and the person I spoke to a number of weeks ago, which I told you about, everybody is saying that Manchester United are at the front of the queue for Jadon Sancho, that there is an obsession with signing Jadon Sancho, that Romano said they're in love with Jadon Sancho, they want Jadon Sancho, they'll do what it takes to get Jadon Sancho. We know that is what United are trying to do. What more can we want at the moment other than the signing and the holding up of the shirt, which cannot happen at the moment? If they fail, then they will have to take the flak. And there will be a lot of flak. But at the moment, it's not like they could have him holding up the shirt anyway. So I think with Sancho, I understand the concerns, but I'm not overly concerned because I think United have staked their reputation on this. And no matter how good a signing Bruno was or Maguire was, if they don't get Sancho, they're going to look stupid. And that's not about threats. That's not about intimidation. That's not about you better get it done or people aren't going to be very happy, because ultimately if we don't sign Sancho, people will still watch Manchester United. What we're talking about here is the reputation of people like Ed Woodward, the Glazers, maybe even Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, but I actually will talk about that in a minute. I don't think it's on him. This is a massive signing for Manchester United Football Club and they've got to make it. And if they don't make it, or more importantly, he goes to another club, that is a massive, massive loss. It's a massive L, whatever you want to call it. Liverpool being in the race for Jadon Sancho doesn't surprise me. I think there are other clubs in the race for Jadon Sancho, and I think Manchester United should be winning this race regardless of who those clubs are. Because yes, Liverpool are going to win the league, and yes, Liverpool are currently the Champions League holders, but ultimately next season's a new season, and Sancho can only join his new club next season. So what do Liverpool offer that we don't offer if we've got Champions League football? It's a fresh slate. It's a new start. It's a new club for Jadon Sancho. And as long as we've got Champions League football, I don't really think Liverpool offer a lot more. They do that they've got a better manager. But if Werner to Liverpool was a bit of a concern for them because he wanted to be the first team player and they've got Firmino, where does Sancho go in when you've got Mane and Salah, who are the two best wingers in the world, arguably? So Sancho, Manchester United, and also Liverpool finances. Where are they going to get this 90 million to spend on Sancho if they won't spend the obvious money on Timo Werner? Why would Liverpool spend 100 million on a backup winger, and for Chelsea they've got other areas to strengthen instead of a winger, says Extras E. And Daniel Luciano says, Mark, like Werner, we can offer Sancho a clear starting spot. Liverpool cannot. Why would he join a team where he is a backup? And Also, welcome to Cheddar Bob, latest member of the United Stand Members Club. And Josh Bowater, Liverpool in for Sancho when they had to get help to pay their dinner ladies. Do me a favour. Well, look, we get the news, we react to the news. I think some people could be like, oh no, Liverpool are in for Sancho, they're going to get him. We could do that. And I think, maybe what we're talking about this morning about Werner, we sort of did do that. Why didn't we get Werner? But I think on this one, let's actually just be a little bit, hold on a minute. Liverpool probably do want Sancho, but what can they offer him that we can't offer him? I think we've got more finances. I think we've got that starting spot that we can definitely give him. And if we get Champions League football, if Liverpool are title holders, Champions League holders, which they won't be, so what? It's a new season. So as long as we've got Champions League football, I think United can win this race. Now, let's come on to the next thing. Manchester United. With regards to Chelsea, they have got Werner. They've already got Ziyech. They're looking at Chilwell. And they're also looking at Havertz and potentially Sancho as well. Do not come at me and say they can't do that. I'll be stunned if they get all 5 of them, but don't say that they can't. I've told you this before. Chelsea have definitely got money. They're owned by a billionaire. Chelsea had a transfer ban last year, so they're playing catch up. Chelsea want to win a title, so they're playing catch up. And Chelsea sold Hazard last summer and didn't replace him, so they're playing catch up. They want to get rid of Pedro and Willian. That's two wingers. They've got Ziyech. Who's their other winger that they want to bring in then? Probably Sancho. Maybe Havertz. So Chelsea are going to put themselves right in there for a lot of transfers this summer. And they will not be impacted by a financial crisis because they're a very rich club and they're a club that actually in relation to financial fair play can probably do quite well. Pete Squire says Sancho and Bellingham would be great. I think that they would be, mates. And a club who had put its staff on furlough, how can it sign a player worth 90 million, says Mojo. Well, they did retract from doing that, didn't they? But they did nearly do it. So I think you're right on that. So I do think that Chelsea are potentially a threat when it comes to Sancho. But I think that Chelsea were always in the race for Sancho. I'm not going to dwell on that for too long because I do think that that comes down to Champions League football. If we get Champions League football, I think we'll win the Sancho race. Mark for Director of Football, hashtag man of the fans, says Daniel Luciano. Thank you. A lot of people won't like that statement, by the way, but I do think being nice sometimes is a virtue that is sometimes missing in modern society. So I appreciate that. But what I would say is that, and I think where there is some relevancy about this is, look, Chelsea get Timo Werner because he's got a release clause that's open for 12 days. I accept that. But Ben Chilwell is playing for Leicester. So what's happening there? Kai Havertz is playing for Bayer Leverkusen. So what's happening there? Why are Chelsea sort of making moves on players that, not that we could, but we could be making moves on players. And Chelsea seem to be making moves very efficiently, very quickly. And I think United need to just switch on a little bit. Maybe they've already switched on a bit, but they do need to switch on a little bit. Rahul Kumar, thank you and welcome to the United Stand Members Club. Because I tweeted this out this morning after I'd done the morning show. We know Ole Gunnar Solskjaer met with Erling Haaland just before he signed for Dortmund. We know from this morning from David Ornstein that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer met with Timo Werner and he didn't come to United. And we know for a fact that he's met with Jude Bellingham. 3 players I think we would all have wanted at Manchester United. Erling Haaland, Timo Werner and Jude Bellingham. All players that we would want, all players that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has met, and all 3 of them could well be players that we don't get. Where does the blame lie with this? Now, for me, it does not lie with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer because I know how transfers work, and it does not lie with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer because if I'm a manager of a football club and I meet Jude Bellingham and I show him around the Carrington and I show him what we're all about, and he says I'm impressed, and then he goes off and signs for another club, is it on me? Well, it might be. It might be, but ultimately, I don't think it is. Because I think with Erling Haaland, he went for money. And I think with Timo Werner, he's gone because we haven't spent the money. And I think with Jude Bellingham, again, it will come down to money. I think that people probably put unfair blame on Ole Gunnar Solskjaer for this, when the reality is that meeting with a player is there to sort of show them that you're interested. And I'm pretty sure that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is one of the most enthusiastic, happy people there are. So why would people not like that? I think what it comes down to is the next stage of a transfer, the negotiation, the bit that takes bloody 2 months, where it's negotiating about getting the best possible deal we can. And we know United are terrible at this. Do you think there's a reason we never have German players, says Sean Byrne? I don't know, mate. I don't know. And Liverpool wouldn't spend less money for Werner, so why would they spend more on Sancho? Also keep the great work, just Cheddar Bob. Welcome to Akshay Karshik, the latest member of the United Stand Members Club. Sean Burns says, do you think we've done that? And Zayn Miassi, Mark, Arsenal and Chelsea can attract players as they're in London and have better managers. Look at Werner. Bruno only joined you guys because of Ronaldo. Andrew Chow, Mark, well done on the cup. I sense a frustration in your voice since Werner was linked to Chelsea. I have hope in United recruitment, but I am very worried, says Andrew Chow. And Sid T, I don't get these confirmed news on Werner to Chelsea when the transfer window isn't open. Surely RB Leipzig can sue Chelsea for unwanted approach. They can't. He's got a release clause, which is open till June the 12th. That's why Werner can move now. But going back to what I was saying there, you cannot... I think with it, when it comes to transfers... We've seen with Bruno Fernandes, we've seen with Harry Maguire, we've seen with Aaron Wan-Bissaka, 3 transfers where nobody else wanted them and we still took 6 weeks. And this is United's sweet spot. United like a player where nobody else is in for them, that they can grind the opposition club down and try and save a fiver. And that's what we did with Bruno. You know, we could have got Bruno in. We were interested in Bruno in mid-January. We lost to Burnley in the time we were negotiating with Bruno. We could have got Bruno in very, very easily. And we negotiated it to the very end. And that was at a time when we were playing football. We did the same with Harry Maguire. It didn't impact on us, but he didn't go on tour because of it. So that was quite impactful. And Wan-Bissaka took all of June. Because we're always trying to save money. And this is what worries me about United, is that we don't act efficiently like Chelsea do, like Liverpool do. And I know Liverpool missed out on Werner, but they got Fabinho done in a couple of hours, it felt like. And it worries me that United, when they're competing against another club, we come up short. Werner, we've come up short. We don't want to pay the money. Haaland, we lost to Dortmund. Bellingham, are we going to win or are we going to lose? We've got to start winning these battles for players that other clubs want. We're very good at getting the deal we want when nobody else is in the race, but we've got to start winning the battles when other clubs are in the battle. And this is why it's not Solskjaer's fault. Solskjaer can meet Werner, Haaland, Bellingham, Sancho, but they could all sign for other clubs because after they've met Ollie and they think they like the project, then they meet the people who do our deals who would drain the life out of anybody because they take so bloody long. And then Mr. Chelsea walk in and go, United are arguing about that extra 5 million? There it is, and have an extra 5 on top. Come with us. Efficiency is what United need to get in this transfer window. Hi Mark, if Chelsea were an option for Sancho, who would Sancho rather play in your opinion, Lampard or Ollie? Says Jordan Such. If Chelsea were an option for Sancho, who would Sancho rather play under, in your opinion, Lampard or Ollie? I don't think it's about who he wants to play under. I think it's about who he wants to play for. Manchester United are a bigger club than Chelsea. Chelsea fans don't like that, but it's true. We're a bigger club than anybody in this country. The only club that comes close is Liverpool, and that was even before Liverpool won titles. Manchester United is an institution. It's a massive football club. That's why we want to come here. There is talk. Klopp told Sancho he would still have a role to play at Liverpool if he joined, despite Salah and Mane being there, says Sean Hayes. I'm sure that's what... He's not going to say, I'm going to sit you on the bench. Of course he's going to do that. But also, Jadon Sancho's not stupid. He left Manchester City because he couldn't see a path to the first team. And I'm sorry, I don't see how you can play Sancho, Mane and Salah in the same team. It's imbalanced. What do you think will be the best probable window for us? And if we sign Sancho alone, are we going to be in the title race? I saw somebody today at Aravundan. Welcome to GJ Best, the latest member of the United Stand Members Club. It's time to worry if we don't get Sancho this summer because Liverpool will spend next summer and the battle will be on to sign him, says Trent Singh. I tell you what, that's a very good point from Trent Singh because that is what Miguel Delaney's article said. It said that Liverpool have expressed an interest in Sancho and it even sort of said that they'd wait another year to get him if he stayed at Dortmund. So that could be an option. You know, Dortmund don't have to sell this summer and Liverpool could offer something next summer. They did it with Naby Keita, didn't they? They got a deal done and then you come in a year. So that could be something that could work. And let's not forget, Klopp's got a good relationship with Dortmund. So look, we cannot be arrogant. I think the highest I've been about Sancho is 7 out of 10. I'm not going to go beyond that because I've seen things happen so many times before. So I'm not going to change my mind about that and whether it will definitely happen or not. But I do think that Manchester United are in a strong position, and I think that they have got to. I mean, look, I saw a direct message today from somebody who gets information. It's not my source. I don't even know who it comes from, but I know they've been accurate on some things. And they were saying that the reason that United didn't go for Werner is because they haven't got the money to go for Werner because all the money's set aside for Sancho. So that to me that makes sense. think Manchester United have got a certain amount of money set aside for Sancho, and we know United don't like to spend over 60 million, 70 million net. So you basically probably do just get Sancho. But when I go back to that previous point there, and Strutson says, I suspect that Ed is worried about making the Sanchez mistake when competing with other clubs. Well, if Ed Woodward is worried about making the Sanchez mistake, then again, it just shows his total lack of football knowledge, because anybody could have told him that Sanchez deal was wrong. You don't not sign Werner, who's 24 and one of the best strikers in the world, because you bought a washed up Alexis Sanchez who's nearly 30 and is crap, and give him the biggest money in the world. That's your mistake, Ed. That's your mistake. That's nothing to do with, oh, I can't do anything like that again in case I do it. Actually scout the player you're looking at and look at how much you're going to pay him. Like, that was your mistake with Sanchez. You signed off the most stupidest deal in Premier League history. I'm sorry, you did. And even as a United fan, I thought we were getting a good player. But it's not my... I've said this before about football fans. We are, by definition, allowed to change our minds, and we are passion merchants. You know, United could play absolutely crap in an FA Cup final, and we could win it in the last minute, and we'll never look back. We'll just be, yeah, fucking get in, yes. Because we're passion merchants. We won't analyse the final 89 minutes. So, as fans... And as a fan, when we were getting Alexis Sanchez, I was really excited. I'd hardly watched Arsenal that season. All I thought is, Alexis Sanchez, it's another Robin van Persie. Hold that L, Robbie, and AFTV, because we're taking Alexis Sanchez. And that's what I thought. I thought this is a great signing. I was wrong. I was wrong. But I tell you what, I'm not the man in charge of the finances paying him the biggest wage in Premier League history. I'm not the man who should have known that Alexis Sanchez had not been playing that well for that season for Arsenal and looked like he was on the decline. That's his fault. That's not my fault. It's not your fault. We are fans of the club. We are passion merchants. This is why we wanted Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. This is why we sang Ollie's at the wheel. And this is why at Christmas we were saying Woodward should have stood by what he said when he sacked Mourinho. Ollie's an interim manager and we'll review it at the end of the season. What did he do? He jumped on the bus with us and gave Ollie the job in March. He should never have done that. Because then we didn't get top four and it all came crashing apart. And hopefully Ollie's going to turn it round. But that's just luck on Woodward's part, because he keeps doing passion merchant things. He is the chief executive of one of the biggest brands in the world. He's got to stop doing passion merchant things. If you're going to do that, you may as well make me director of football, because I'll do something passion. I'll just go, oh yeah, look at that hat trick by that player for Leverkusen, who's not Havertz. He's the next Havertz. Let's sign him for 80 million and give him 400k a week. Of course I'm going to do something stupid like that, because I'm a passion merchant. I'm a fan. That's what we are. Ed Woodward needs to start acting like a businessman. And he also needs somebody next to him who knows about football. So we cannot avoid signing Timo Werner or Jadon Sancho or any other bloody great player because Ed's scared about doing another Alexis Sanchez. You did an Alexis Sanchez because you didn't know what you were doing. Werner, Sancho, Havertz, any other big spending should never be compared to that idiotic signing of Alexis Sanchez, because you didn't do your homework and you paid him too much money. And that's on you and your negotiators. And you need to learn from that. You can't not buy players because of that. Unfortunately, I think we have moved on from that anyway, because we still bought Bruno, didn't we? But yeah, look, I think that United, it's a massive summer. I'm not worried about Liverpool. I'm not worried about Real Madrid. And I'm not worried about Chelsea, because I do think we're masters of our own destiny with Jadon Sancho. It doesn't matter what's gone on before. People will keep saying, oh, you know what? Thanks, Alvin Blocks. I'm not going to read it out because I'm in flow, but thanks very much for that. Just giving love to the community. I'm not going to say, well, look, I'm going to say it. We, as United fans, whether you're on Twitter or YouTube or whatever, you'll just get the same thing. People try and make us Arsenal. And I suppose at times we've sort of become a bit like Arsenal, battling for fourth place in the Europa League. But we won the Europa League and we'll probably win it again this year. But what I'm trying to say is this. It doesn't matter how many times you've won the league in the last 6 years. It doesn't matter how far you've been in the Champions League in the last 6 years. At the start of next season, everybody starts with no points and everybody starts in the tournaments that they're in. If we start with no points and in the Champions League, we're exactly the same as Liverpool, Manchester City and whoever else is in there with us. To Jadon Sancho, that's the most important thing, because he's developing his career and he wants to play football. And Manchester United can offer him the right wing in a team that's in the Champions League and has 0 points on the opening day, with some very good players in our squad. Liverpool will probably be favourites to win it. Man City will be close behind. but we will be in the same position. We'll be in the Premier League with 0 points, and we'll be in the Champions League, and that will be enough to get Jadon Sancho. We are the masters of our own destiny here. People can believe me or not, but we are the masters of our own destiny here. If we get Champions League football, which is in our hands, we will get Jadon Sancho, as long as Ed Woodward doesn't mess it up trying to save money. Because I tell you what, he's too good a player. If you go to Dortmund and say, we're not going to burn above 80 million and we want to talk to you for the next 6 weeks to get it down to 80 million, somebody will come in and go, we'll give you 90, can we sign it now? And United will be sat there going, oh, that's what happens when there's competition for a player that's really good. So that could mess it up, but we've got to get the Champions League football. Shugante says, stop being overconfident. Well, no, I'll do what I want for a start, as should you. We're a fan channel where we say what we think, and that's how it works. You don't have to agree with it, but I'm not going to sit... just because Shugante says, don't be overconfident, I better sit here like a little mouse and say, I don't know what... are we going to get him? I don't know whether we're going to get him. I'm going to say, look, if we get Champions League football, I think we'll get him. I'm not in charge of the negotiations, though. It makes me laugh when you come out with an opinion and then in 2 or 3 months when it doesn't happen, people go, oh, look at you. You said we were going to get him. Oh, yeah, I forgot. I was chief negotiator and in charge of the transfer budget. If I was, we'd bloody get him. Of course we would. I might bankrupt the club doing it, but I'd get you Jadon Sancho. I'm confident as I can be knowing what I know. But I'm not in control of that deal, which is why I keep saying I'm 70% sure. You should never get too excited unless it's 99% with a transfer. But I'm 70% sure. So we'll see what happens. But if we don't get Champions League football, that drops. That drops down to 50-50 for me, because I just think, and I've said this so many times, and you've said it as well, a lot of you. You can be as confident as you like about signing Jadon Sancho. But if you haven't got Champions League football, that's a failure of the team. And that's a failure of the manager, and he will see that. And if Chelsea have got Champions League football and Liverpool have got it and Real Madrid have got it, that could be the thing that sways him towards that. I think Champions League football will be very important in signing Jadon Sancho. If you're planning for the future means extending Agallo and not activating Werner's clause, then that future can kiss my ass, says Adams. To the point. And Marina Granovsky of Chelsea, who does deals, is superb negotiator since 2006. Sold Costa for 60 million, bought Morata for 56, sold him for 54, and bought Werner for 49. Chelsea, Vedant, have been brilliant at transfer deals for a very, very long time. Looking forward to reading Sancho has boarded a flight for Manchester, says Mojo. Yeah, but even then he could be getting a taxi to Liverpool, so I think the Sancho deal, a lot of us will be like, until he's holding up the shirt, we're not so sure. Please smash a like on the video if you're watching, by the way. Really appreciate that. And I just want to talk to you about Sanchez, actually. There's a report I saw today, Sport Media Set, which I'm not 100% sure where they're from. And I'm not saying they're reliable, but it did get me thinking. They were talking about Alexis Sanchez and how United would be agreeable to let Inter Milan have him next season on loan. Yes, 100%. Yeah, I don't know what you lot think about this, but I think anybody who thinks we're getting money for Sanchez or we're selling Sanchez, you are really, 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 really naive, because who is going to pay him 400k a week? He's crap. Who's going to pay him 400k a week and a transfer fee? There isn't a club to do that. So he's not going anywhere this summer unless we can loan him out again. And if he goes to Inter Milan for another year, happy days. Just keep him away from Manchester United as far as I'm concerned. I think that would be great, great news. And I'd be very happy about it. And look, people can say you're being horrible to Sanchez, but look, he is going to disrupt this football club because his wages are astronomical and he's crap. And that will make for a very disrupted dressing room. Not because United players don't like Sanchez. Maybe they don't. I don't know. There was those rumours of him being very isolated and on his own and not interested in integrating, and if that's true, it won't endear him much anyway. But ultimately, if you go to work tomorrow and you work hard with your teammates or colleagues, and there's somebody in there who gets 2-3 times more than you get, but they're crap at their job, it's human psychology, isn't it? It will absolutely eat up at you that there's somebody doing your job, getting paid way more than you are, and they don't do it as well. So keep him away. And also, he's not Ollie's signing. It's not Ollie's problem. So don't unload these problems on Ollie. who, as I said many times before, is an inexperienced coach who is having to learn on the job. And, it must be hard for old Solskjaer. I think that, as we know, he did meet Haaland before Christmas and he really wanted Haaland, and he was a big part of Haaland's development at Calder, and then the club don't get him. That must be really frustrating when you know a player so well. Like, I could be a coach, and I could be a coach of Manchester United, and I could say I want Raul Jimenez because I've played against him as a manager, and he looks good in the Premier League, but I don't know everything about him. I just think I think he would be good. From an Erling Haaland point of view, for Solskjaer, wants him, never stops speaking positively about him, and probably knows his game inside out. He knows what Haaland would bring to Manchester United, and he doesn't get him because the club didn't get him. And it wasn't because Ollie didn't want him. And I think people really need to understand this. Because some people think we were right not to go for Erling Haaland, by the way. And I'm not saying that you're wrong for that. Some people thought they didn't want this release clause that kicks in 2 years, or they didn't want to work. They didn't want a Mino Raiola client, which is absolutely fine. This isn't my opinion I'm talking about here. You know what I think about Mino Raiola clients. I don't really like them either. United, for whatever reason, didn't sign Erling Haaland. I don't know that reason, we can speculate, whatever. But the bottom line is, you cannot sit here and say that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer didn't want him, because he did. He loves the lad. He nurtured the lad at Calder. He knows what that lad would bring, and we all know he's one of the best strikers in the world at the moment. Solskjaer wanted Haaland. Manchester United didn't get him. And maybe they took him in a room and went, look, Ollie, what do you think? The release clause. And he went, okay, let's not get him. But in his heart of hearts, he wanted him. And he didn't get him. And that's management for you. Mourinho said this. Van Gaal has said it as well. They didn't get the players they wanted from Manchester United. And I think already we've seen that from Solskjaer. And Solskjaer's in post. He's not going to come out and say it. And maybe Solskjaer was part of the reason we didn't get Haaland, and he said, okay, let's not get him. But ultimately, I think we all know he did want him. Because how many times in life are you at a football club and you need a striker, and you've coached and brought through a young striker that is now looking like one of the best in the world, and you can bring him to your club? You're not going to go, oh yeah, you know what, that release clause in a couple of years, that's a problem, isn't it? He's not. He's going to want him, and he didn't get him. And maybe he really wanted Werner as well, and he didn't get him. And Bellingham, he wants Bellingham because Bellingham's been round Carrington. And if he doesn't get him, this is, welcome to the world of being a football manager. It's not always your fault. And I think we sometimes need to think that. It's not always the manager's fault. Then when a player doesn't come in, they are the victim of what goes on above them. Lists have been given to that board. Mourinho's spoken about it as well. Targets are given, number one targets are given, and they don't get delivered all the time. And they've got to start doing that more and more, because Ole Gunnar Solskjaer isn't Mourinho and he's not Van Gaal. He's inexperienced, and he will be a good manager. I really hope that he will. But if you want him to be, if you've got an experienced manager, you've got to deliver them the first priority signings, because they're already learning on the job. Don't make it harder for them. Give them what they want as their first priority. And I think we're seeing that with Chelsea. Lampard, first transfer window now. He's a year in the job, and he's being delivered cracking signings. And Chelsea, like the person said before, very good at it. Sanchez can swap with Agallo. Imagine, says Pete Squire. Yeah, it's not going to happen. Akil says, Pogba and Rashford new arrivals on your chart show. Can't wait for exciting days ahead. Fingers crossed. Yeah, 2 weeks tomorrow morning, we'll have the chart show back. Can't wait. And Nazar Haroun says, Mark, you say Ollie's inexperienced. Zidane and Pep were both inexperienced when they took two of the biggest clubs in football. We can expect more. I disagree. I actually use Ollie's inexperience as an excuse. I do use it as an excuse at times, but Zidane and Pep didn't take on what Ollie took on. They took on big clubs, and so did Ollie, but they didn't take on clubs. Real Madrid and Barcelona haven't been 6 years without a title, fighting in fourth and fifth. Real Madrid and Barcelona are always first or second, maybe third every now and again. It's different. It's very, very different. And Barcelona and Real Madrid will spend their way out of money. Manchester United won't always do that. Thanks for all the likes and super chats, says Vandy Candy. Yes. And Mark, why does the Sancho deal only happen if we get Champions League football, says Mike Byrne. Chelsea signed Werner without confirmed Champions League, and that's because they are proactive and don't mess around, unlike us. There's a good point, Mike, and I think there's two answers to that. One, Jadon Sancho's not Timo Werner. Jadon Sancho is very, very, very aware of his career and how he wants to develop it, which is why he left Man City to go to Dortmund. Jadon Sancho wants to play Champions League football, and he's got every right to do that. Why should he drop down into the Europa League? So that's one reason. The second reason is there's going to be a lot of clubs that want him who have got Champions League football. So that's why, basically. And the Werner situation is different because he's got to sign for somebody in the next 12 days and Liverpool won't bid for him. So who's bidding for Werner? Chelsea. That's it. Nobody else has gone in for him for whatever reason. So his only choice is stay at RB Leipzig or go to Chelsea. And he spoke himself at the start of March and he mentioned United and he mentioned Liverpool. He didn't mention Chelsea. So United and Liverpool aren't in for him, so he's going to Chelsea. Why haven't we got a director of football? Our board lacks the knowledge of the game we need, says Ginger Fury, because they don't want to give up control, basically. I know that the chat is hectic and can be tough to keep up with. Would appreciate if you read my previous super chat. Oh yeah, I got no chance, are you? I'm sorry, I said this last night as well. The comment section's so big. If you put a super chat in, I tried to read them all out, but once they've whizzed through, it only lets you scan back so far. So I can't go back any further to see them, and I'm sorry about that. Which is why I always say, if you're doing a super chat, I'll try and read them out, but not all of them will get read out. And look, also, there are other channels out there that don't even read their super chats. Not sure why this hasn't been mentioned, but Chelsea are under massive pressure to get fourth now. They were slipping before lockdown. What morale will some players be in knowing they're getting replaced, says Julian. Good point. Good point. I think Manchester United and Chelsea will get top four because I think Leicester will drop out. But we've got Chelsea are the ones we've got to go for. We've got to knock Chelsea out of that top four spot. Because it's going to be a battle. Cobb Ross Aiken says if Chelsea really did offer Werner 50k per week more time join, Liverpool haven't bid. Doesn't that sound like Sanchez 2.0? Yeah, but Werner's not Sanchez. Werner actually is a player who's on a graph going up. We bought a player with Sanchez who's on a graph going down, which is why Pep backed off. I don't know why Liverpool have backed off, probably because they haven't got the money. Werner would never join Arsenal, Zane. He's ambitious. And Mojo says it's unfair to compare Ollie's experience with Pep when Pep was inexperienced. Even my granny would have won everything with that Barcelona team. Yeah, he did have a certain Messi, didn't he? And Zidane had a certain Ronaldo, which is actually, Mojo, high five. How can you compare Solskjaer taking over Manchester United to Pep taking over Barcelona with Messi and Zidane taking over Madrid with Ronaldo? They had the two best players in world football history. Ollie had Fellaini. And he got rid of him straight away. Ollie played under Fergie his whole career learning, and when he gets the right players, he will play the United way, only way he knows. Right now he is out of his comfort zone, but when he gets his players, it will change, says John Haven. I hope that excuse comes true. I don't really believe that excuse. I don't. I think that I've seen Rochdale. I've seen teams in the Championship who, even though I've got to pull you up on that. I don't agree with that. I don't think that's an excuse, and I think it's a bad excuse. You cannot be a coach who waits to play they want to play, waits to play the way they want to play till they've got better players. How cowardly is that? As I said, there are clubs in non-league football. There are clubs in the Championship. There are clubs in League One. There are clubs in the Premier League who don't have any money and they still play the brand of football that manager wants to play because it's called a philosophy. Frank Lampard played the same way he's playing at Chelsea as he did at Derby. This season at Chelsea, he's had a transfer ban. He still played with youth. He still played the same way. It's cost him. At United, we've done him every single time. When he's got better players, the players that are already there will know the philosophy. When they were at Derby, he had worse players. They still played the same way and had a philosophy. Maybe, hopefully, Ollie will change and start playing a better brand of football, but it's no excuse as to why he's not played it already. You know, I think that's a really... I'm not saying it's wrong, but I'm just saying I think it's a poor excuse on Ollie's part, really, that I can't play the way I want to play until I get better players. Because there's loads of managers out there that know how they want to play and will play it regardless of whether they're going to get the players or not, because they don't necessarily have that luxury. So I do think we'll see it. I do think Ollie will improve with better players, but I still think he should have done it with the players that we've got, because that's what good coaches do. But maybe, like you say, he is out of his comfort zone and he didn't dare do it. He's definitely played very, very, very defensive this season. And I think he definitely has gone into games thinking if we don't concede, we'll nick a goal and win 1-0. And maybe he'll get braver now. And you know what, actually, you sometimes you work through a problem. And now I think about it, what you're saying, Pereira and Lingard at times have been like playing with 10 men. And there's been no creativity. So that really does hinder a team. So you add a Bruno in there and suddenly you do have creativity and that can make a difference. Played the best football when he was at Barcelona. Fergie even said it. That team, Xavi and Iniesta, best club team ever, made the treble team and Invincibles look like a pub team. Disagree. Different times. And tell you what, Chelsea 05 made the bloody Invincibles look better, look like a pub team. I don't know. The Invincibles don't belong in the sentence with the treble team. I don't get this. You got knocked out the Champions League, you got knocked out the Carabao Cup, you got knocked out the FA Cup, and you drew 12 league games. You basically went into games to get a draw to win a Premier League that was wrapped in a gold in a Yorkie wrapper. Don't put the Invincibles in the same sentence as the treble winning side. We won an FA Cup, Champions League, and a Premier League with barely any squad and playing virtually every day of the week. That was epic. What you did was just win a league title and get knocked out of every domestic cup and draw 33% of your games. Don't ever put the Invincibles in the same sentence as the treble. You're having a bloody laugh. Why are you so sure Leicester will drop out the top 4? That rhymes, Nesta. I'm in the minority here. I think I get laughed at when I say this. But I'll keep saying it, and when I'm right, people can come and say I was right, and when I'm wrong, people will laugh. But I'm not saying Leicester are definitely going to finish outside the top 4, but I'm looking at the Premier League, and I'm looking at that 8-point gap between us and Leicester, and because that's the one that matters, because they can swap places with Chelsea and they're still in the top 4. It's the 8 points between us and Leicester that matters, or Sheffield United if they win their game in hand against Villa. We have got to play. Goes to his notes. Not that far back, is it? We've got to play Leicester, so that knocks it down to 5 points. And here we go. We've got to play Leicester, so that knocks it down to 5 points because we'll beat them. Well, you'd hope that we'll beat them. But Leicester have got to play Watford away, Everton away, Arsenal away, Spurs away, Sheffield United. There's loads of points that Leicester can drop there. Whereas for us, I think we can make 5 points up on them quite easily. But we've got to beat them to do it. How quickly do you think we need a complete rebuild and have a team to challenge for trophies? If we take 2 or 3 summers, Maguire, Bruno, Pogba will be getting older, says Mojo. And Nathan Mishishi says, sick of the Ollie sympathisers. Do we want to be the best club in the world again? Then we need one of the best managers, not one that is on track to be our worst season in 30 years. And Zane says, Mark, I think Mustafi on his day at same level as Maguire. Look how Arteta will develop it. Zane, you just bring it on yourself. You bring it on yourself. Mustafi and Phil Jones in a defensive partnership would be, they'd swallow so much mud from falling on the floor. JCBs would be jealous. They're awful centre-backs. Maguire's one of the best centre-backs in Europe. You're having a laugh, Zane. You're having a laugh. But yeah, I do think that when it comes to what Mojo said, we ain't going to win the league next year. I don't expect that. I think we'd do very well to win it in 2 years, and I think 3 years is what most people predicted. But you'd still need to keep developing the team. That's what you need to do. And look, just going back on that Leicester point, I'm in the minority. Not a lot of people think we can catch Leicester. They're focusing on Chelsea, which is fine. And Chelsea's games, they've got City, Liverpool and Wolves and Sheffield United, which are difficult games for them. If we beat Leicester, it's down to 5 points. And I just think their running is very difficult compared to ours. And I don't think that this break will help Leicester. And also, Leicester play 1 game a week because they're not in Europe. They're going to have to start playing midweek, weekend, midweek. I think it will grind Leicester down. I think Leicester will drop a lot of points. And I think there's an opportunity to not only hunt Chelsea down, but also hunt Leicester down. Thanks everyone who smashed a like on the video. Please subscribe to the channel if you're new. I'm back in the morning with more Manchester United news and transfer news, and again tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. If you want to check out one of the most epic Champions League finals, you can watch Mark Goldbridge, That's Football. And if you want to see how to cook a pizza, you can search Goldbridge Cooks Pizza, which went up today. Thanks everyone for watching. Have a great Friday night and start to your weekend. I'll see you in the morning. We're 2 weeks away from football being back. Take care, stay safe, stay alert. Thanks to all the mods and thanks to everybody for watching. We've got a fantastic community and keep it going.